My dad was a master bread maker who afterwards had to move into the construction industry. He was always very aggressive. He came home drunk. He was an alcoholic. And when he tried to hit my mother, we all had to run away from home in the middle of the night. That's why I always feel bad when I see men drinking on a Friday night, while their families are back home waiting for them, just to have a cup of tea and a piece of bread.
He was different from all the rest of the kids of our alley. My mum always taught us that you shouldn't look at the outside of a man, but rather the inside, to make sure that he was an honest, hard-working person. And that defines Mario precisely, since by the age of 14, he had to assume full responsibility for his entire family.
We had to overcome my mother-in-law's apprehensions, as she used to say, to Berna. How on earth can you marry Mario if his father is an alcoholic, a drunkard who goes around falling flat on his face in the streets? Well, I did show her that I could be different.
With such a level of domestic violence, one might think that he was going to treat me just the same. But it was the exact opposite. Ever since we began going out, he looked after the smallest details, although he never gave me flowers.
I'm not yet through getting to know Berna, in the sense of the talents that she has. I mean, each day she surprises me with things that perhaps she didn't have the chance to do earlier, but which now she has the time, she'll be able to develop.
Mario uplifts me. I mean, he's not one of those macho men that tell you, you know nothing, you're a good for nothing. On the contrary, I've always felt supported by him. I had my own dad and my own brothers, but ours was not a well-adjusted family, so he was aware of the kind of problems that I encountered at home.
She says that I've supported her a lot, but this kind of support is reciprocal because I go out to work and she remains in charge of the house, responsible for our 5 daughters. They have to be educated, dressed, sent to school, and when I get back home at night, I notice that someone's been taking good care of things around the house. Besides, she's a cleanliness and tidiness freak. She likes to keep the house well presented.
Only after 10 years of marriage, it was like we began to mature because both of us had got together like 2 innocent birds. Our parents never told us anything about marriage, about what was going to happen. We never received that kind of advice from our parents. I mean, we did it all alone. We've had our own share of joys and sorrows with our daughters. They're good kids, though. But it's so difficult to be parents when your daughters get pregnant. I mean, actually, both our daughters got pregnant before they got married. That was when the earth opened right up beneath my feet. I was simply not prepared for that. I got angry because one has one's own ambitions for one's kids. When I went to Mario to tell him all about this, he burst into tears. And I asked him to forgive me for not having taken proper care of our daughters. But he said to me, "You're not to blame for this. If anything, we both are." And I didn't say anything to our daughter, although I did warn her. You mustn't marry just because you're pregnant. But they decided to move their wedding date forward. It was planned for November of that year. 15 days later, our other daughter came to me with the same story. She'd also got pregnant. I fell into a deep depression then.
I was deeply hurt, and I cried then. I didn't want to do or say anything that we would have to regret in the future. In fact, she was expecting a much more violent reaction on my part.
My daughters were much more mature than I ever was at their age. It was then that I began to think, well, good upbringing and a good school, and we were always talking to them about things very straightforwardly. I always taught our daughters the right things, or both Mario and I, that is, because we didn't want them to learn these things from outsiders.
Well, naturally, all this had a terrible impact on me as a father. I kept asking myself, where did I go wrong with my daughters? All the same, we clearly told the boys, We're not forcing you to marry our daughters because we don't ever want you to blame us if things don't work out between you. So you're quite free to abandon them right now with no commitment of any kind on your part. But I think that this experience brought us all closer together, because we talked. There was a real dialogue and communication, a communication that had been there in the first place, but which flowed ever so easily then. I believe that this experience strengthened us as a family.
In the past, Mario did absolutely nothing. He just enjoyed walking around with the babies smelling good, nicely perfumed, with clean clothes, no runny noses. But he never picked up a bottle to feed the girls. In this respect, he didn't help at all.
Domestic work? Well, undoubtedly when she's alone, she does it all by herself. When I'm at home, however, we share. I do our bedroom. Sometimes I sweep the patio. Not always. Occasionally, she even gets surprised by other people telling me, "Hey, with so many women in your family, how come you do the washing and the sweeping?" Implying that one has to be macho. But with me, that's not the case.
Now Mario does all these things. Oh, but how I would have loved it if he'd done these things when the girls were little.
It's never too late to learn.
Now he takes care of our grandchildren.
Yeah, the nice thing about grandchildren is that no matter how much you pretend not to spoil them, you allow them to do things that you didn't allow your own children to do. And in our own particular case, it's even worse because we had 5 girls and our grandchildren are all boys.
When the girls got married, I said to myself, I won't stay at home any longer. I'll go out at least one day a week to find a space of my own. And that was what I said to Mario. I want to get out of the house. So I began to get to know the world outside, meet other people. I felt happy, enormously happy, because I began to value myself. I realised that I was on a par with other people, able to talk to them, because I'd felt totally useless given my meagre education. But then I began to look at life with different eyes.
Yeah, I would say that our relationship has become richer now. We do things and say things that we didn't do or say before, probably because, well, we just didn't have the time, since I had to work hard to feed such a large family. I used to come home quite tired and fed up, so the time I spent with my wife was, well, zilch. But now it's different. It's just like we've fallen in love all over again.